The Democrats are rallying behind Harris and vice presidential candidate Tim Walz. The pair will kick off a bus tour this week in Georgia with 70 days until the election. What do Democrats need to do to convince undecided voters? Gregory Korte is the senior White House and politics correspondent with Bloomberg, and he was at the convention. Good to have you with us this morning. What are your takeaways from the convention?
Well, I certainly saw a lot of energy. I was here talking to Tom right after the Republican convention and saw a lot of energy there as well. The Republicans were more unified and optimistic than I've seen them in a long time. Fast forward to this Democratic convention, really I see the same thing, a unified party, a very enthusiastic party, maybe even more so than the Republicans now, because remember, a month ago, Republicans were flying high. Right. Donald Trump had just survived an assassination attempt. They were still running against Joe Biden, who was weakened by that poor debate performance. Now it's a completely different race with Harris in the race. Right. We're watching to see if she gets that traditional convention bump in the polling that we expect nominees to get. She had already had a honeymoon going into this convention. We'll have to see if that continues.
Democrats have a lot of wind in their sails, but obviously they have to keep that momentum going. What does Harris need to do to make sure that she does keep that momentum going all the way till November? What's next for her?
Well, obviously, we're going to look forward to the debates, at least one. Trump once more, and she's going to have to really kind of differentiate herself from Joe Biden somehow. We're going to have to see what does a Harris presidency look like outside the shadow of a Biden presidency.
But I wondered, in differentiating herself from Biden, does she run the risk perhaps of alienating people who still are Team Biden and want to build on his success and say she should stay that course? Does she have this, she has this very thin role, I think, to play, that she can't really jettison him, but, you know, she needs to carve her own path?
I agree, and it's a very difficult tightrope that vice presidents have had. I remember Clinton handing off the baton to Gore. Gore didn't campaign with Bill Clinton. Of course, Bill Clinton was still sort of scandal-plagued at that time. What you saw from Democrats at this convention was on that first night when Joe Biden spoke, the thank you, Joe, the emotion in that hall was palpable. And so I think this is still a Biden party, but it's also a Harris party.
So Harris has not done a lot of sit-down interviews. In fact, I know she's taking some hits from the press that somehow she's distancing herself, and some saying good. She's able to chart her own course and have her own messaging. Does she need to do a sit-down interview where she more clearly defines what her agenda is, what her policies will be?
Well, I'm a White House reporter, so I think if you ask me, yes, absolutely. I want the candidates to sit down and talk to us. Preferably me, but it doesn't have to be me, somebody, to explain what her policy positions are. She says she's going to do that in due course. But yes, I think there is an expectation that she gets a little bit specific. You know, the convention acceptance speech that she gave last week was not necessarily the place to do that. I'll give her a little bit of slack there. It's not a State of the Union address. It is very thematic. She's come out with a number of proposals around home ownership, around the child tax credit. There's a little bit of an arms race right now between her and Donald Trump on one-upping each other on the size of, the child tax credit. She's followed him in calling for no taxes on tips. And so those details should get hashed out between now and November 5th.
And let's talk about the flying ointment, Robert Kennedy Jr. dropping out of the race, endorsing Donald Trump. How does that affect the Democrats?
You know, if you talk to Republicans, they say this benefits them. If you talk to Democrats, they say it doesn't really make a difference. I've looked at the polling, including our own polling that we do at Bloomberg News with Morning Consult, and it's really within the margin of error. Robert F. Kennedy was polling at less than 5% as of last week anyway. So it's a very small number of people. But keep in mind that a number of those people, a good 40% of them, say that if Robert F. Kennedy were not on the ballot, they wouldn't even show up. So it's not that all of his support is going to go to Donald Trump, because a lot of his voters had a reason not to vote for Trump or Harris to begin with. So we'll have to watch to see if those supporters follow Trump in supporting him.
Indeed, we do. And of course, Harris and Walz on a bus tour starting this week, hoping to, again, have an impact on this race with their messaging across the country. How successful do you think this bus tour will be very quickly?
Well, yeah, they're going to hit all these 7 swing states that we keep talking about. It is a brand new race. They are going to be on the ground because they've expanded the map. It used to be just those northern blue wall states we talk about. Now it's 7 different swing states, 7 different campaigns where this race is going to be fought.
All right, certainly, and no shortness of excitement in this race. Everything changing minute by minute, it seems. Gregory Korte with Bloomberg, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.